The first officer knocked on my hotel room door at 2:17 a.m. He didn't ask if I was asleep. He didn't apologize for waking me. He simply held up his badge and asked one question. "Captain Ava Morgan." "Yes." "Your husband has reported that you stole his aircraft." For 3 full seconds, I honestly thought he was joking. Because the airplane in question wasn't my husband's. It belonged to the airline, and I was the one flying it. My name is Ava Morgan. I'm 38 years old, and for 16 years, I've been an international airline captain based in Seattle. I've flown through hurricanes over the Pacific, landed during snowstorms in Chicago, crossed the Atlantic more than 400 times. Passengers trust me with their lives every single day. The only person I should never have trusted was the man waiting for me at home. His name was Daniel. We met 12 years earlier at an aviation charity gala. I was a first officer back then. He wasn't a pilot. He owned an aviation consulting company that helped private businesses purchase aircraft. He was intelligent, funny, confident without being arrogant, or at least, that's how he appeared. We married 2 years later. People always asked how two people who loved airplanes found each other. We laughed and said the sky brought us together. Looking back, the sky wasn't what connected us. Money was. I just didn't know it yet. Because of my schedule, I was away almost half the month. Tokyo, London, Frankfurt, Sydney. When I was home, I wanted peace. Daniel always made sure the house felt peaceful. Dinner was ready, laundry was folded, the bills were already paid. He handled everything on the ground while I handled everything in the air. I thought we made the perfect team. Whenever people complimented our marriage, Daniel squeezed my hand and smiled. We stay in our lanes. I flew airplanes. He managed life. It sounded perfect. Then, about 18 months ago, things changed. Small things, almost invisible things. Daniel became strangely interested in my work, not flying, the paperwork. He started asking questions about insurance policies, employee travel benefits, emergency contact forms, power of attorney documents. He said it was because we were getting older. Responsible couples plan ahead. That sounded reasonable. So I answered every question, signed every form he placed in front of me, trusted every explanation. After all, he was my husband. The first real warning came from another captain, Captain Lisa Reynolds. We had flown together for almost 8 years. One evening after landing in Vancouver, she asked me something that made absolutely no sense. "Ava, when did Daniel start buying airplanes?" I laughed. "He doesn't." Lisa frowned. I could have sworn I saw his name last week at an aviation finance conference. He was introducing himself as an aircraft investor. I smiled politely. There must be another Daniel Morgan. Lisa shrugged. Maybe. I believed her. I wanted to believe her, because the alternative didn't even make sense. Daniel had never owned an airplane, never flown one, never had that kind of money, or so I thought. 3 weeks later, I returned home from a 5-day trip to Singapore. The garage was empty. Daniel's SUV was gone. His closet was half empty. His passport, gone. His laptop, gone. The only thing waiting for me was a single envelope on the kitchen counter. My name was written across the front. Inside was one sheet of paper, one sentence, and the beginning of the worst year of my life. I hope you enjoy explaining everything to the investigators. For almost an hour, I just sat there staring at that single sentence. I hope you enjoy explaining everything to the investigators. It didn't make sense. Daniel wasn't dramatic. If he was angry, he became quiet. If something bothered him, he buried it under jokes. This felt planned. My phone rang before I could call him. Unknown number. Captain Ava Morgan? Yes. This is Special Agent Rebecca Collins with the FBI Financial Crimes Division. My stomach tightened. "We need you to come to our Seattle field office this afternoon." "What is this about?" There was a pause. "It's regarding several aircraft financing transactions connected to your name." "My name?" "Yes, ma'am. I've never financed an aircraft." "We'll discuss everything when you arrive." The call ended. I drove to the FBI office with my hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly they hurt. For 16 years, my life had been built around checklists. Verify, confirm, cross-check. Nothing about today fit any checklist I had ever seen. Agent Collins greeted me with a thick file. She opened it without wasting time. "Captain Morgan, do you recognize this company?" She turned the folder toward me. "Morgan Aviation Holdings, LLC. "No, that's not my company." She nodded. "We thought you'd say that." Another document. Aircraft purchase agreement. One Gulfstream business jet. Purchase price? $23 million. Buyer. Morgan Aviation Holdings. Managing member. Ava Morgan. My signature appeared at the bottom, except it wasn't mine. "I never signed this. I've never even seen this airplane." Agent Collins calmly placed another document on the table, then another, 5 aircraft, 3 companies, millions of dollars in loans. Every document carried my name. Every signature looked almost identical to mine. Every company listed my home address. I felt physically sick. "This has to be identity theft." Collins looked at me carefully. "We agree. But here's the problem. Every application was submitted from your home computer." "My home computer?" "Yes, and every security code was confirmed using your personal phone." I stared at her. "I never received any security codes." She slid one final paper across the table, a duplicate SIM card request, approved 6 months earlier, authorized by Daniel Morgan. My husband had duplicated my phone number, every banking code, every verification message, every digital signature. He had been receiving them instead of me. I suddenly remembered all the little moments that had never seemed important. "My phone isn't getting good reception." "I'll call the carrier." "I upgraded your security settings." "I handled the paperwork." Not once had I questioned him. Agent Collins closed the folder. "We've already frozen the aircraft." "But your husband disappeared 48 hours ago." "He boarded a private flight to the Cayman Islands." I whispered. "How much?" Collins answered without emotion. "The total fraud currently under investigation is approximately $91 million. $91 million. The room became completely silent. Then she looked directly at me. "We don't believe you're the criminal. But until we prove that, everyone else does." Within 24 hours, everything I had spent 16 years building began falling apart. The airline suspended me immediately, not because they believed I was guilty, because federal investigations and commercial airlines don't mix. My company ID stopped working. My flight schedule disappeared. My access badge was deactivated. One email, 16 years. Gone. The media found the story before dinner. Airline captain linked to $91 million aircraft fraud. My photo was everywhere. Neighbors stopped waving. Reporters waited outside my house. My phone never stopped ringing. Most people called to ask one question. "Did you really steal the planes?" Nobody asked if I was okay. 3 days later, Agent Collins called again. "Ava, we found Daniel." I stood up so quickly my chair fell backward. "Where is he?" "He isn't in the Cayman Islands anymore. He chartered another jet to Belize." "But that's not why I'm calling. We searched one of his offices, and we found something." An hour later, I was sitting across from her again. She placed a small black notebook on the table. It belonged to Daniel, inside. Every fraudulent company, every fake signature, every stolen identity, every aircraft purchase, everything was handwritten, every page, every amount, every bank account. Then, halfway through the notebook, I found my name, not just once, dozens of times, next to each entry. Daniel had written short notes. Ava flying Tokyo, Ava in London, Ava over the Pacific. He had planned every fraud around my flight schedule. Whenever I was crossing an ocean, he became me. He filed documents, signed contracts, verified bank transfers, opened companies, closed loans. He had used the fact that airline pilots disappear across time zones for days at a time. No one questioned why I couldn't answer my phone. No one questioned electronic signatures. Everyone assumed I was flying because I was. Agent Collins quietly closed the notebook. We've confirmed something else. She opened another folder. This wasn't just fraud. It was preparation. I frowned. For what? She slid over a life insurance policy. $20 million. Primary insured. Me, primary beneficiary. Daniel Morgan. Policy activated 8 months earlier. Then another document. A private charter reservation. 1 mountain sightseeing flight. Pilot, not me. Passenger, me scheduled. 2 weeks from today, I looked up. I never booked this. We know. Collins nodded. We believe your husband intended for you to disappear. The room became completely silent. For the first time since this nightmare began, I wasn't thinking about the money or the airplanes or my career. I was thinking about one terrifying fact. If I hadn't discovered the fraud, I might never have lived long enough to clear my name. The arrest happened on a Thursday morning, not in some dramatic movie-style chase, not on a private island. Daniel was arrested while walking out of a luxury marina in Belize. He had a suitcase, a fake passport, 3 encrypted phones, and less than $6,000 left in cash. The FBI had already frozen every bank account connected to him, every airplane, every shell company, every offshore transfer. He looked around as the agents placed him in handcuffs. Then he asked only one question. Has Ava talked? The answer was simple. She never stopped. For the next 9 months, I testified more times than I can remember. The investigators recovered thousands of emails, hidden servers, forged contracts, security camera footage, even recordings of Daniel practicing my signature for hours at a time. Every piece of evidence pointed in one direction. I had never been his partner. I had been his cover. The airline finally called me. The chief operations officer asked me to come in personally. I walked into headquarters expecting another interview. Instead, he stood up, extended his hand, and said the words I had dreamed about hearing. Captain Morgan, welcome back. The airline officially cleared my name. My suspension was removed. Every record was corrected 3 months later. I was back in the left seat of a Boeing 787. As I pushed the throttles forward for takeoff, I looked out across the runway. For the first time in almost a year, I felt completely free. Daniel wasn't. He accepted a plea agreement after realizing the evidence against him was overwhelming. The federal judge sentenced him to 26 years in prison for wire fraud, identity theft, aircraft financing fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy. The judge said something I will never forget. You did not simply steal money. You attempted to steal another person's entire identity. He was right. Daniel tried to take my career, my reputation, my future, and eventually, my life. He failed. Today, I still fly international routes. I still love watching the sunrise from 38,000 feet. Only one thing has changed. People often ask whether I trust anyone anymore. The answer is yes, but trust is no longer something I give away because someone wears a wedding ring. It's something people earn. one honest action at a time. And every time I close the cockpit door before a flight, I quietly remind myself of one simple truth. The most dangerous turbulence I ever survived was never in the sky. It was waiting for me at home. If this story reminded you that strength is built one decision at a time, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for flying with us, and I'll see you in the next story.